welcome to Fireside and Fairy Tale. Today we're going to look at painting. Please subscribe, and we've come to a very frozen day in late November. Even the pond is frozen. The geraniums are covered in frost. I've come to my flower press and the moment of revelation. It's had leaves and a few flower petals pressed in secrecy for a number of weeks in my flower press, and we're going to in a moment have the big reveal. Always a moment of excitement and anticipation. Off comes the wooden top, and then layers of cardboard and blotting paper. And it's amazing what happens under pressure. Just look at those leaves and the little flower petals. I'm very pleased with that. Now, those flowers were actually the geraniums that you saw covered in frost, and they are pink. So the pressing process has pressed out some of the red and left this absolutely beautiful violet colour, which will be a lovely contrast for the yellow leaf. So I have so many choices, but I do want to be arranging those leaves in a pleasing way. The large down first, and then I think I'm going to have them placed more or less in a circle. They're quite delicate, and the variety of shape, colour, depth of tone makes for real beauty in a very short space of time. And that's the arrangement I've chosen. And now I'm going to apply a thin layer of glue so they'll paste down in place. There's something very charming and enchanting about pressed leaves, pressed petals, a moment of time in their short lives captured for a great deal longer. And often the colour will stay true, but we also have the most beautiful faded tones in pressed vegetation. I think that's very much part of its appeal. And also the silhouettes of the shapes, because they're flattened, give us the ability to really look very carefully at the variety of shape in vegetation, something as simple and straightforward as leaves. There's another one being placed. It's floating down. I'm using normal white cartridge paper for this arrangement, and the glue will dry clear, so I don't mind gluing on top of the stems sometimes, or even on top of the leaves, just so that I can have them in place, but all done very delicately, of course. here we are, just arranging those geraniums, more or less in the center to give a focal point. I love that contrast of the purplish violet colour and that leaf just to the left, which is almost a sort of maple leaf shape and has those reddish brown tones and the yellow. Just a lovely contrast in the palette there. And one single solitary petal at the top to give more movement to the whole arrangement. And now I'm going to add my own rather flat flower shapes within the dried flower arrangement, pressed leaf arrangement, to build up a rather more artistic creation. I'm thinking about geraniums here. I want to bring out the colour and make more of a contrast, just slightly more exciting, but the added flowers are very flat, so again there's a lovely contrast between real live shapes and forms and ones that will simply be flat paint. And I'm placing 3 of those flowers on the arrangement to keep the balance correct. The whole thing is swirling round an imaginary circular center. I love working in watercolor. I love the flow of the paint and how it can become very dense and flat, or I can create more of a surface with the use of varying depth of water. There we are, that's the second flower. This makes a really lovely contrast, that very flat watercolor red against the life of that pressed leaf just above it. It's very charming again in the contrast. Just put in centers, flower centers, and contrast again. Keep the whole arrangement full of life and interest. Now I'm using a red chalk pencil just to add in some background foliage and give a perpendicular aspect to the whole arrangement. I love these fairy tale labels from old book illustrations, and I tend to use them rather a lot. And then just some yellow flower shapes to add more brightness to the arrangement. And again, I'm going to make 3 of these in balanced locations, so the whole creation is pleasing to the eye. There we are. And the next one. I've done the outlines for these in pencil, not in red chalk. And the third flower there. imaginary flower, really. So rich, lovely, very late autumn, very early winter colour, capturing the life of the year, and creating something that's pleasing and that will last a great deal longer than long after the leaves have faded and vanished back into dust. And so there we have it. And it's a birthday card. So happy birthday to the recipient. A lovely balance of dark tones and bright tones and varied shapes. So thank you so much for watching Fireside and Fairy Tale Paints. Please subscribe, press that subscribe button. I hope you've enjoyed it and see you again very soon. Bye bye.